Los Angeles Chargers at the New York Jets. Chargers favored by 3.5 in East Rutherford at the Jets. 3-4 Chargers against the 4-3 Jets.
See, this one's the Jets by 3.5.
Are they 4-3?
Or the Chargers by 3.5.
This is the one. Yeah. Did I get the Jets record right? Yeah, they're 4-3 with a point differential of -3. Jets hanging tough right now.
Hanging tough. They are. Yeah. I mean, their defense is keeping them alive. Like the offense is getting just enough going. Breece Hall's making a few plays. Zach Wilson's made a few plays, ticking up, trending in the right direction.
Yeah, last week was his worst grade since week 3. But again, we just described the Dexter Lawrence stuff that we just described all happened against Zach Wilson and the Jets.
Yeah.
So.
And even, I mean, last week, so the sort of general performance was as bad as early in the season, but he was still more productive. Like that's the thing. He had 100 more yards than week 1 when he was also bad. So I think that's kind of important, is that they're actually using him a bit more and can be more productive. So even an ineffective Zach Wilson, if he's passing more, like he's averaging 6.7 yards per attempt in both week 1 and week 8, but in week 8 he had whatever that is, like 15 more attempts, right? So 15 more attempts at 6.7 yards per attempt is better than your run game is going to do. So as long as you don't turn the ball over, you're going to have more offensive production.
Yeah, the thing that has me somewhat intrigued with Zach Wilson, not that he's going to become a superstar or anything, but I think he has gotten a little bit better. If Aaron Rodgers was still playing right now for the Jets, we'd be talking about how Aaron Rodgers is really struggling behind this offensive line. Not struggling, but it's probably doing something to the offense where maybe Rodgers and this offense were not going to live up to expectations because they have a 49 passing grade here so far this season. It would be a big story. The offensive line or pass blocking issues for the Jets would be a big story if Rodgers was under center. When it's Zach Wilson, it's like, well, the production kind of looks a lot like last year, so it's just what Zach Wilson is. I'm curious if he did have that really stout offensive line, because at BYU, it was a stout offensive line and just wasn't facing good pass rushers, and he's sitting in this clean pocket, and the people that were critical of Zach Wilson said, well, he's never faced pressure. And he had massive pockets, which was true. And I'm not saying you're going to have that same level of offensive line performance in the NFL, but if you just gave Zach Wilson 5 or 6 more clean pockets per game, what would that do for his production? That's what has me somewhat intrigued by the fact that I think he's looking better right now. And the Jets are still having issues up front.
Yeah.
Against this Chargers defense, again, they're hit or miss. They have those games where Khalil Mack will go off, other times where they tend to disappear. But this seems like one of those games where the Chargers can rush the passer, put a little pressure on Zach Wilson. But on the other side, the Jets defense has been outstanding. Justin Herbert, bottom 5 in the NFL, PFF grade on 20-plus yard throws. And the Jets allowing just 15% completions on 20-plus yard throws. This needs to be the other Herbert games underneath, hitting the, Keenan Allen, high volume underneath stuff, because it's, Jets are making a lot of quarterbacks look bad so far this year.
Are we in a position yet to make any determination on the Justin Herbert, Kellen Moore connection, whether it's been a success, failure, and or nothing?
What did the chart?
I asked that because Herbert has been playing with that scaffolding rig on his finger, non-throwing finger, but there's no way that doesn't affect you, right? Having this absurd cast hanging off your middle finger as you're trying to. Every time you watch him fall over, he's doing that thing you do when you have a hurt hand, wrist, arm, whatever, trying to fall without putting your hand on the ground, which is not easy. There's no way that's not affecting his play in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, for what they're averaging, just as a team, including defensive scores or whatever, they're averaging about 1.5 points more this year than they did last year. I think overall it's been directionally good or better for the Chargers.
And it coincides with what's interesting is, so the overall production is better. It's, it's as you said, they're scoring more points. He's got 13 touchdowns to 4 interceptions, so his passer rating is the best it's ever been. He's tying his high in yards per attempt, etc., and yet it's the worst PFF grade of his career, the worst passing grade by a significant margin. He's almost doubling his turnover-worthy play rate from the last 2 years, which was the league's best, which, remember, we were kind of asking for that to happen, right? That number should go up because you're being more aggressive. And if you're being more aggressive, that will lead to more of these big plays. And his average depth of target has gone way up relative to last year, up even relative to the 2 years before that. His big time throw rate is up, but not massively. So I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence here as to whether this has been successful or not.
Yeah, to me, when I see the bad, I mentioned the deep passing grade. And, like I mentioned, Mahomes' deep passing numbers being pretty poor earlier in the show. That stuff doesn't concern me a ton because I think a lot of that is playmaker driven. The grade is less so playmaker driven, but the stats certainly are. So that makes me think you take care of the stuff that you can control the most, which is everything up to 20 yards. You have the biggest impact on that. The deep stuff is, for like Mahomes, the deep numbers, a lot of times it's do you have Tyreek Hill or not? Do you have Marquez Valdez-Scantling creating separation? For Herbert, do you have Mike Williams in the lineup to just give him opportunities to hit downfield back shoulders, to flip the field? You don't have that. You have to play this Keenan Allen type of game. So I'm not terribly concerned. I think it's directionally good, the Kellen Moore era. But it's going to be challenging against the Jets.
Mm-hmm. We saw the first signs of life, really, from Quentin Johnston last week. Does that continue this week? Do they keep trying to get him the ball some more, get him more involved in the offense? I think both sides need it, right? Quentin Johnston needs it, obviously, because he was being looked at as a disappointment relative to Jordan Addison, et cetera, after half the season. And the Chargers need it. Otherwise, what the hell was the point in drafting Quentin Johnston in the first round?
Yeah. 3.5, man. What do you think? Chargers favored here in New York. It's tough to pass there anyway. Jets defense locking things down.
Yeah, I'm going to go.
Chargers defense being pretty inconsistent here.
I'm going to go with the Jets.
Man, we have
defense
agreed.
is good.